Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Katie Porter. I represent California's 45th Congressional District. And thank you all for being here today to celebrate Michael Nguyen's return home. After 2 years of fighting for Michael, I am humbled now to welcome you home. His arrival on Thursday was a long-awaited reunion for an Orange County father and his family. Michael, his wife Helen, and the whole Nguyen family have shown incredible strength and perseverance throughout this ordeal, and getting to know you and your family has been a true privilege. Ironically, Michael is the only member of the Nguyen family that I haven't had the chance to meet in person, though I feel like I've come to know him over these last 2 years. He is a devoted husband and a loving father. He's a devout Catholic who sees injustice in the world and wants to do something about it. And he's an active member of the Orange County community who left a huge void when he was taken. And that's what today is really about. Not Vietnam or international politics, but a dad who is back home with his family and friends. There are 3 reasons that Michael is back home where he belongs. First, of course, is Helen Nguyen, who led her family through the last 2 years through love and sheer force of will. This family is being reunited not only because Michael is home, but because Helen held everything together to create a home for him. Second is the indomitable Mark Roberts, who arranged more interagency phone calls touching more time zones than any person this side of the State Department. Every prisoner of conscience should be so lucky as to have their own Mark Roberts fighting for them. Third are the diplomats at the State Department and the team of public officials, which I'm humbled to be a part of, who prodded, who pushed, arranged briefings and meetings, and raised your case with the Vietnamese government at every opportunity. I hope that this is a sign of things to come in the US-Vietnam relationship, but only time will tell. It's clear that the Vietnamese government is afraid of free speech and of free thinkers, like you, Michael, and like others who are being held in custody. Arresting democratic activists is short-sighted. It will not prevent democracy in Vietnam, only delay it. These abuses sow distrust and division between the US and Vietnam at a time we could be cooperating on trade, security, and climate change. The Vietnamese government has a choice to make. And if they make the right one, then this reunion will be the first of many. But what matters today is that Michael is back, that the Nguyen family is reunited, and that our Orange County community is here to celebrate. Thank you so much to everyone who made this happen, and welcome home, Michael. With that, I think we're going to recognize Mark to give some remarks. Mark, do you want to unmute yourself?
Sorry about that. Okay, the modern era. So, Congresswoman Porter, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Roberts. I am Michael and Helen Nguyen's brother-in-law. Working with members of Congress and the State Department, Michael's wife, Helen, spearheaded a 27-month-long odyssey to free her husband and reunite him with their family. Michael will share with you today a detailed summary of his long ordeal, along with his gratitude for the so many people who worked to secure his freedom. While some or all of the members of Congress here will be taking questions afterwards, as Michael will explain in his detailed summary, no one from our family will be taking any questions after his statement. Not Michael, not Helen, not myself. We will provide to everyone who has previously RSVP'd to Representative Porter's office for this press conference an email printout of Michael's statement. Michael?
Thank you. Hi.
Go.
I stand before you, a graceful man who has experienced much in these past almost 2.5 years. Yet to endure so much over this period of time was nothing compared to the grace I received from God through so many of you. I wish to give you my deepest thanks for the work everyone did on my behalf. It's overwhelming so that many people work so hard and so long to reunite me with my family. It is hard to describe to you the challenges of 2 years and 4 months in prison. The first 2 months, I had no communication with my family at all. I knew nothing how they are doing, of their health or their life. After that, I would get letters from my family about once every 5 weeks. Nothing was private. What was written in those letters was the first read by my jailers. For the 11 months, I have no access to lawyers. After almost a year of being detained, they have a trial. The day before that trial, they provide me with a public defender, but he could not possibly defend me because one day before the trial, he had given a stack of paper more than 12 inches tall with charges against me and so-called evidence against me, with no time to possibly review, to question that so-called evidence, to have any short due process or justice under the law. They have written out a statement for me to sign, and the public defender's main job was to get me to sign a statement of words that were not even my own. I had no opportunity to defend myself. Even at the court, they told me I can explain myself, but when I start speak, they stop me. They silence me. So I want to extend my most grateful thanks to Representative Katie Porter and for her active involvement in my case, for taking the lead with her colleagues in Congress to continually fight for my return. I want to thank her for supporting not only me, but my family throughout this long ordeal. Congressman Helen Nguyen, who know our community well and who have the courage to fight for justice, includes my own. Congressman Lou Correa, who worked with Representative Porter, who always support my return. Congressman Brad Sherman, who invited my wife, Helen, to testify before Congress about my case. Congressman Al Green of Texas and Congressman Ted Yoho of Florida, who both stayed involved in my case from the very beginning, include Congressman Ruda from Orange County. The Ambassador Daniel Crichton, who met with my family and continued to push hard and ultimately won my freedom. Many members of the State Department who stay focused and work constantly on my case. Also the people from the U.S. Consulate in Saigon, who were my only outside contact for the last 2 years. I am grateful for the former Congressman S. Roy of Fullerton and the former Congresswoman Mimi Walter, who both fought for strongly in early days of my being detained, including holding 2 special orders in Congress. I also want to thank the Orange County community, especially the Vietnamese communities, for their undying support and also the media, local, national, and international, for the highlighting my case, for keeping it in public eyes. I know I was not forgotten, and my family was not forsaken. Thank you. I offer this thing because the injustice that I endure are foreign to what we believe here in America. I was essentially kidnapped with 3 others. They were taken up from the bus. No reason was given to me. No credential were presented to me. I was blindfolded, handcuffed, and put into the car by people in civilian clothes. I was fearful, very fearful. I was detained and interrogated for 16 hours at a time on many days. I was denied the ability to contact the U.S. consulate. 12 days later, the consulate was finally advised of my situation. After 24 days of detention under jailer supervision, I was able to meet with the consulate staff member about once every 5 weeks. Our conversation was monitored in person, and we were only talk about my health and basic needs, but nothing about my case at all, nothing. This was my only opportunity to give and receive letter and food for my family. In the 11 months before my trial, I have endured this thing with no knowledge of the true condition of my family. I love my daughters. I love my wife. This was very stressful, but I also knew I had to be strong. I know my community is strong. I know even more that my family is very, very strong. What I could not possibly know was the determination of so many people, our government and my family, who would continue to fight for me for such a long period of time. Even my release was completely secret to me until I was in airport in Saigon. After my trial and 12-year sentence, I was sent to the prison, which had a section for foreigners. I met many people from many different countries. Many of them did not have the people back home fighting for them. Maybe they don't know how, or come from the country that does not have the freedom that we have here in America. Maybe they don't have the elected official who will fight for them as I did. Many of these people suffer even more than I did. I want to respect their case. They have it even harder than I did. They don't have Helen as their wife, and the government might not fight for them like my government fight for me. During my long imprisonment, the State Department asked my family not to say things publicly that I can compromise my case. I will do the same, not speaking further about my own case so I do not impact other people's cases. Thank you very much. Now I would like to turn this over Congressman Brad Sherman of Los Angeles.
Thank you. Hello, is our technology working?
Go ahead, Brad.
Good. Yes, Congresswoman Porter, thank you so much for bringing us all together Michael, Helen, it's great to be with you electronically. Michael, welcome back to America and to Southern California. I'm Congressman Brad Sherman from California's best named city, Sherman Oaks. For over 2 years, members of Congress have called for Michael Nguyen's release. For months and months, Michael was imprisoned prior to even the announcement of any formal charges. His eventual trial resulted in an outrageous 12-year prison sentence, during which he was not allowed direct contact with his wife and daughters. Congresswoman Porter brought this matter to my attention not too long after Michael was imprisoned, and I've seen her and the other members here, Helen Lowenthal, Lou Correa, Harley Ruda, Al Green, and others work so hard for Michael's release. Last July, I chaired the Asia Subcommittee hearing. And Helen, thank you so much for testifying, not only on behalf of your husband, but on behalf of everyone who suffers from deprivation of human rights. We went on to, Congresswoman Porter and I went on to meet in my office with the ambassador from Vietnam. And we, I think, made it plain there, as other members of Congress have done again and again, to tell the Vietnamese how important this case was and how important human rights is to the United States Congress. Mr. Nguyen's release would not have been possible without the attention of the Congress and the State Department. His release is a victory for human rights. And I think as countries around the world weigh how much freedom to give their people, how much to follow the rule of law, they will understand that Americans care about human rights. Our consumers care when they decide which products to buy. Our investors care when they decide where to invest their money, both because of their own concerns and because they know American consumers and European consumers and other consumers care. And the United States government continues its dedication to human rights. And that is why, if Vietnam is going to benefit from its relationship with the United States geopolitically and economically, the first step was to release Michael, but there are many, many more steps to take. So I want to thank Helen for being a model for everyone in America concerned with unlawful and wrongful imprisonments. And I want to thank Congress members Lowenthal and Correa, Al Green, and Harley Ruda. Especially want to thank Lou Correa and Alan Lowenthal, and of course Katie Porter, for participating in the hearings with us. And this is a day to celebrate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'd now like to recognize Representative Alan Lowenthal, whose district was the host to Vietnamese Ambassador Daniel Crittenbrick, and a chance for Michael's family to directly talk to the ambassador.
Thank you. My name is Congressman Alan Lowenthal, and I represent the 47th Congressional District in Orange County. I'm elated that Michael Nguyen, who is an American citizen, as we all know, who was wrongly detained, who was wrongly convicted, and who has been wrongly imprisoned in Vietnam, has been released by the Vietnamese government, and I thank them, and has returned now to the United States, to his family, and to his community. As we all know on this call, Michael should never have been arrested in the first place. And I'm inspired by his case to continue to advocate for human rights and prisoners of conscience in Vietnam. But throughout this ordeal, I've been amazed by the strength and the resilience of the Nguyen family, which we've already heard, but it is an amazing experience. Helen and her 4 daughters fought so hard to bring Michael home. And no matter how dark the situation seemed, they never gave up on securing his release. But this was not only an effort by Helen and the girls, but by the rest of her family, especially Mark, who was always there fighting for Michael, alerting us or making us aware, and the entire Vietnamese American community who stood up and championed Michael's cause. But I think we have to admire, why we're here today, the strength of Michael, who we've just heard today, and his courage and his perseverance during more than 2 years in a Vietnamese prison. It's a situation that none of us can truly imagine. And I know that all of us on this call, all wish Michael and his family the very best in moving forward. But I also would be remiss in not offering my personal thanks to the United States Ambassador to Vietnam, Dan Crittenbrink. Dan met with members of Congress and spoke to us whenever we requested it. And I know that other members on this call, and especially Representative Porter, requested it quite frequently, and he was always there to help us and reach out. I was proud to host the ambassador in his first town hall in Orange County earlier this year, where Michael's case was prominently brought up by members of the community. It was wonderful. But I also want to acknowledge Representative Katie Porter and her office for the tremendous work that they have dedicated to Michael's case. But it was not only Representative Porter, it was Representative Green, it was Representative Correa, it was Representative Yoho, it was Representative Sherman, and it was Representative Ruda, all of us championing Michael's case. And I want to conclude by saying I'm also very grateful for my own staff who never stopped fighting for Michael and who were able to help, and I would hope, in not only Michael, in championing other prisoners of conscience. So this is a wonderful day, and thank you for inviting me, and I thank all my colleagues for how hard we all worked, and I thank Michael and his family and Mark. We are so excited, and you inspire us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm now going to recognize the remaining representatives, and we are all so excited and have so much warmth in our heart on this occasion, but I want to make sure we get a chance to hear from everybody, including Representative Yoho. This was a bipartisan effort, and so if I could ask everyone to keep the remarks really short. I know there's so much to say, and that we all have so much to say to you. Representative Al Green, could you please speak next?
Thank you very much, Representative Porter. I will be terse and laconic, but I do want to associate myself with the comments made by my colleagues. They have all spoken quite well, and I need not say a lot. But I do want to remind us that Dr. King was right when he informed us that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. You, Madam Porter, you, Representative Porter, had your hand on the arc of the moral universe, and you did not bend. Rather, you bent it toward justice, because this was an injustice. And all of my colleagues, names have been mentioned, Sherman, Lowenthal, Correa, Ruda, all of my colleagues have played a role in this, but no one played a role more significant than Helen. She has been a faithful, dutiful, courageous wife, someone that you can always depend on. You chose well, my dear brother, you chose well. And she has served you well. She has been so faithful. Finally, this. You belong to us, Michael. We had a moral imperative to bring you home. You are ours. Whenever a member of our family is detained any place in the world, we have the responsibility to do all that we can to bring you home. Governments only recognize human rights. They don't grant them, And we have to make sure every government recognizes and protects the human rights and dignity of our people. You're one of ours. I'm so pleased that you're home. God bless you, and God bless all who had a hand in helping you to come home. And God bless this great country, the United States of America.
Thank you, Representative Green. I'd now like to recognize Representative Lou Correa, a fellow Orange County congressperson who was very involved in this case from the start.
Thank you very much, Congressmember Porter, and thank you for leading the charge on this one. God's work today. And of course, Helen, muchas gracias. Thank you for your strength in making sure that Michael came back to all of us. And I thank all of the members of Congress that, of course, did the heavy lifting to make sure that Vietnam knows that every American citizen is one that we will defend to the end. Michael, I'm very happy that you're back. I'm so overjoyed. We all are. Yet at the same time, Michael, I have to tell you, I'm very sad. I'm very sad today because your case shows that the Vietnamese government continues to violate human rights, religious freedoms, not only of Vietnamese citizens, but of American citizens. How many times have we been at hunger strikes in Little Saigon? How many times have we written letters? Have we gotten together with the Vietnamese officials? This keeps happening over and over again. A few years back, my own chief of staff, Tammy Tran, was arrested in Vietnam, wasn't demonstrating, wasn't doing anything. Her only crime, she was my chief of staff. This has to change. Congressmember Porter, I'm going to keep it short as you've instructed, but let me just say, we're happy to have you back, Michael, but this is not over. We're going to continue to push really hard to make sure Vietnam respects human rights, respects religious freedom. As Vietnam continues to be a world economic powerhouse, we're going to pull them back and say, you forgot to respect human rights, religious freedom. We're not going to let you get away with it. Thank you very much, Congressmember Porter. Appreciate your leadership in this effort.
Thank you. I'd now like to ask Representative Ted Yoho to give a few remarks and appreciate his consistent bipartisan leadership on this issue as the ranking member on the Asia Subcommittee.
Katie, thank you. And I want to say congratulations to Helen and Michael for enduring a long ordeal. And I want to thank Ed Royce and Mimi Walters for getting the ball rolling. And Katie, you did an awesome job of continuing this with the phone calls, the meetings. I'm going to go to my prepared remarks, so I cut this short. I join my colleagues here today in expressing relief and joy at the release and return of Michael Nguyen to his family in the United States after serving 2 years incarcerated in a Vietnamese prison. The nature of Mr. Nguyen's arrest and imprisonment should give us all pause when traveling abroad, as Lou just mentioned, to countries with more restrictive laws, less freedoms and liberties that we're blessed with in this country. Michael was held in prison for 2 years, 8 months, of which occurred before formal charges were even filed, and sentenced to a 12-year prison term. As we continue to deepen our economic and diplomatic relationships with Vietnam, our goal is to have a reciprocity in our court systems that provide, which Michael wasn't, due process to U.S. citizens, and also offer the same to Vietnamese citizens as we do. Myself, along with other members of the U.S. Congress, held multiple phone conferences with our Vietnamese embassy representatives, checking on his well-being, and expressed our strong support for Michael's release and the return to his family. My office held several calls with the Vietnamese embassy and wrote letters to the Prime Minister Phuong asking for leniency and a quick return to Michael to the U.S. Our goal was to advocate for Michael's release while showing respect for the Vietnamese system of laws and not to interfere with their court system, but yet to promote due process. Moving ahead, I look forward to working with the my Vietnamese colleagues and building stronger ties between our two nations. And I thank the Vietnamese government for releasing Michael to Helen and his family. And I'm sure his family is ecstatic with the great news, as we are. Congratulations to the whole team that I see on the screen. You know, it was your involvement that made this work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd last like to recognize Representative Harley Ruda, another colleague from Orange County, who was a very consistent partner in this fight.
Thank you, Congresswoman Porter. Michael, it's really good to see you, and it's really good to see you with Mark and Helen. I've been so impressed with your family's persistence and strength throughout this difficult process, and I am proud to have joined Congresswoman Porter and several of my colleagues in pushing for your release through letters to the Trump administration, remarks on the House floor, meetings with State Department personnel, including the community town hall we hosted just here in Orange County earlier this year. I also want to commend U.S. Ambassador to Vietnam, Dan Crittenbrink, and his staff. They have worked relentlessly on behalf of the Nguyen family and for their continued engagement with our offices on additional important issues related to the U.S.-Vietnam relations. Michael's release is an important step in the right direction for the relationship between our two countries, but it is yet another reminder of the continued need to promote human rights and democratic values for all people within Vietnam. And I'll close by saying, during this pandemic and COVID-19, with so many families being separated, it is truly wonderful to see your family reunited.
Thank you so much. I want to also just take a moment to recognize the work of Paul St. Pierre, who was really tireless, did so much of the day-to-day advocacy for Michael and making sure that he was safe. He retired really recently and was so excited to hear of your safe return. It was one of his last really acts of continued service to this country to bring you home. And I also want to quickly recognize my staff, Brianna Marta-Carrena, my former staffer, and Jacob Marks for their work and their consistent communication and advocacy on your behalf. At this point, Lindsay, we can turn it over to any questions that reporters may have.
Thank you, Congresswoman Porter. So yeah, as Congresswoman Porter just said, we're now going to begin the question and answer session. Please use the raise hand feature so I know to call on you and unmute you. As a quick reminder, the family will not be taking questions, so please direct your questions to a member. Unfortunately, since we are almost out of time, I would like just to encourage anyone who did not get to answer a question to send an email to katieporter.press@mail.house.gov with your questions, and we'll be sure to answer. Thank you so much. And if anyone has a question, please raise your hand using the raise hand feature. All right. I just unmuted. I'm not sure. This is 8002990. You are unmuted.
Okay. This is Bill Tarrant from Reuters. I wonder if you could give us some more details about Michael Nguyen's release last week. How did that take place? I think he mentioned that he was secretly released and flown to Bangkok, if I heard that right.
Yes, so the Vietnamese are calling this a humanitarian gesture. And maybe that's the real story. It could be a pretext for a number of things. I'm not going to speculate. What we do know is that the constant pressure from the family, from Congress, from the State Department ensured that Michael's case was on the minds of Vietnamese leadership when the time came. Michael was transported through Korea, was able to contact his family at that point, and then made a safe return home. We wanted to make sure that Michael was reunited first and foremost with his family, and that he was able to have time to recover before we began to talk with press. But the Vietnamese government has said nothing more than this is a humanitarian gesture. And having met your 4 daughters over and over again, Michael, I can't tell you that it's really true that this is an important humanitarian moment for those 4 girls to have their dad back with them.
All right, I'm going to now recognize Jessica from KABC. Jessica, you're allowed to talk. Unfortunately, this is the last question that we're going to be able to take, but as I said, please send any other emails to katieporter.press@mail.house.gov with questions. Jessica, you can now talk.
Hi, thank you all so much for your time and for sharing this story. So I'm just wanting to know, what were the initial charges against him and what was he finally found guilty of by the Vietnamese government? And also, who is he in our community here in Orange County? What's, you know, I saw that he's very involved. Can we describe that again in depth about his role here in Orange County?
Yeah, so Michael ran a printing shop, but he was primarily a caregiver to their 4 daughters, Eileen, Emily, the 4 of them span the ages from college now to elementary school, middle school, and Michael did so much to take care of them. Helen is a surgical nurse and works very, very long hours, and so Michael was really there for his kids. He was a member of his church, and really a beloved member of his community. So it's wonderful. His business was closed as a result of his being detained, but we were very grateful that Helen was able to continue to juggle, continue working while continuing to care for the 4 children. Michael was detained and charged under a broad statute, activities against the state. We never were able to receive detailed information or any supporting facts to document those charges. And so, as Michael said at the trial, in advance of the trial, he received no information about the facts supporting the alleged case. At the trial, he was not allowed to present evidence. And so at this time, all we have is this very broad statute that is essentially activity against the state that were the charges. But he was held in prison for many, many months before the trial. Total time in detention, I believe, was 2 years and 4 months. So this has been a very, very long journey for the family.
Right. Thank you all so much for joining us. Unfortunately, because we are running a little over, we do have to close. But like I said, please email any other questions to katieporter.press@mail.house.gov. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you, and welcome home again, Michael.
Welcome home.